Hi, so I'm Michelle Hayner, the head of the arts department. And with this presentation, I'd like to give you a little overview of the arts at International High School, of our upcoming season, and also speak of the Awaiting Dawn project, which is a really original, one-of-a-kind project that is at the heart of our 2013 to 2014 season. So just to note that our department really bridges the curricular and the extracurricular. So many of our activities showcase both curricular and extracurricular work, or may have students doing some curricular projects within the framework of Bacadot or of the concerts and so on. And this mix of curricular and extracurricular really allows us to accommodate a range of student interests and abilities and passions in the arts, everything from students' desire to simply sample an art to students' intention of pursuing an art professionally in the future. You'll see that also our season and some of the things we're offering this year really reflects a deep commitment to the arts, which we believe is a really integral part of the sort of tradition and heritage of our particular school, really reflecting sort of a European and international sensibility and appreciation for the arts, the International Baccalaureate program, and a really sense of value for the arts as something that forges creativity and is an opportunity for collaboration and can really serve our wider community. An overview of some things we offer in the arts department: our three major Bacadot productions, a gamut of opportunities to work in music, similarly in fine arts, lots of opportunities for students to not just be doing work in the classroom, but also after hours, and similarly in film. And if we look at the overview of our arts season in the first semester, you'll see that we're kicking off with an Open Doors on the Awaiting Dawn project. Again, not business as usual to us. This is really sharing work in progress and opening up the actual process of the work to conversation, to bringing in audience members. Then we go into our fall musical cabaret with a real sort of, what would I say, show-stopping, fun, great musical. Then into our winter art show and concert. Then into the second semester, where we start with our student-directed one-acts. Then we go into the performances of Awaiting Dawn in March, and then the year-end activities with art shows and a gamut of activities in May and June, showcasing student work from within and beyond the classroom. Parent support, very integral to our department. Of course, as audience members, but also as behind-the-scenes support, and in bringing their own artistry and expertise to serve our department and to enrich our programs. Some words about the Awaiting Dawn project, as people have been asking me, well, what is this project? I hear about it, I see flyers up about it, but what is this project all about? So for us, this is really new territory. This was a long time in the planning, and it's unfolding over the course of an entire year. It has threads into classroom work, and we hope it has threads into the future. It's really exploring new models and inviting participation of a wider community. So what is it? It's actually really our efforts in the arts to explore new forms and possibilities. We're certainly not standing still in terms of the work we're doing in the classroom and our efforts to work in more collaborative ways, to integrate more technology, to do more student-led learning and projects to differentiate. And we believe in the arts department that this should also be shaping our sensibility of what we do in terms of big arts projects. And that we also, with this project, are looking for a framework to really ask, what do the arts have to offer in this digital age? And how can we use technology to serve, the work that we're doing, to enrich the work we're doing, but at the same time, what space might the arts hold within our community, and even in those spaces of live participation and live presence? What is the place of the arts there and at this particular juncture? So yeah, the sense that it should be new territory. And that also there are other artists and thinkers who are asking these same questions and we can collaborate with them. So the form and the process of this project is actually really the heart of the matter. And you'll see that the content is very interesting, but it's really in the form and the process that I think the real innovation lies. And we're trying something new with this. It's an effort to say not just what could it look like, but you know, what can it look like not in some distant future, but here and now. Let's take it on. And you'll see as we talk about the project that it is exploratory, it's creativity, it's not just putting up a show, business as usual, that it offers students a lot of freedom and flexibility and differentiation, again, things that are kind of seen as best practices in teaching today. That also this idea that things shouldn't be compartmentalized, that there should be connections between them, between the curricular and the extracurricular, between different subjects. That work should feel like play, and play sometimes feels like work, and that those can bleed together. That there are opportunities for us to have a wider community, and that there's also opportunities for us to look at our traditional roles, that as teachers and directors of plays, it's not enough to hold all the answers and have the students in line and tell them what to do, that students are demanding and should demand more active participation and more collaborative roles and voices. And also, how do we integrate, technology into things like live performance, and how also can those serve the collaborative project? So what about the actual content? People still say, okay, that form and process sounds really interesting, but what is this actually going to be about, and what will it look like? And here we really have a conversation with the Greeks. That is the heart of the content. Now, why that? Part of it is because this really came out of the conversation with Moise Toire when he and I first talked about doing a project together and what could be interesting for his company and for our school. And we realized that both his company and our school were very interested in looking at future models, but that also maybe in the process of trying to look at what future models should be, it was worth us looking at where we had come from, in terms of the roots of theater, in terms of the roots of education. And that takes us back to the Greeks. So this idea that if we're asking where we should go now at this particular juncture, maybe it's worth us being in conversation with where we've come from. So the content of this piece offers different forms for a conversation with the Greeks. And we've designed the project around 3 different forms, with students being invited to really pick the form that most corresponds with their interests. And the first is actually working on fairly traditional plays in a sort of fairly traditional play structure. 2 great Greek plays, Ajax and Antigone, and in taking on these roles of Greek heroes and Greek heroines, of the warrior and the rebel, who are facing big questions of justice and duty and questions of community and family and honor. How do our young student artists today connect with those parts? And how do the questions that those heroines are facing, or those heroes are facing, resonate with them? So that's this kind of conversation with the Greeks around, through taking on these more traditional plays. Looking at them with a modern sensibility, looking at modern versions of those plays too, but still looking at a more traditional play form. The second form is actually a more postmodern form. It is not so linear, it's not traditional storytelling, it's more fragmented, it's something we might associate with more experimental kind of dance theater work. But it's still inspired by this idea of, a very Greek idea of the chorus, as in a group of people that represent the voice of the people. So this is an intergenerational group. It's a group that includes students, but also faculty and parents and outside artists. And they're taking on a traditional theme, the theme of war. And they're looking at texts from across eras, and they're looking at many different media. So it's a different sensibility, but it's a different way of being in conversation with the Greeks. And finally, fragments. And this is the opportunity whereby students who weren't as interested in those 2 big group projects, but maybe wanted to work in a different media, in film or video or photography, this is their opportunity to helm a project, a smaller project at their own initiative, and that we are accompanying them. And certainly thematically, it's connected to the project, but it's also a very student-driven fragment. Students are writing plays, they're working in a gamut of media with these fragments. Now, these will ultimately be performed in March. So March 20th, 21st, and 22nd, the fragments will inhabit all levels of the pavilion, and audience members will be able to kind of wander through the hallways of the pavilion and see small performances and video and photos and other traces of the project. Then they'll go up to the theater where the chorus will perform. A colloquium open to the wider community on March 23rd, and then the second weekend, the performances of Ajax and Antigone, or this sort of work and research around these two traditional Greek plays. And together, these different forms and both the sort of process and the product is what comprises the Awaiting Dawn project. And our both sort of our question and our response to what can theater look like in a sort of 21st century school today. And we hope that it'll be innovative and rich and interesting. Already we've embarked on an adventure which is proving such. So we've had visits from Les Inachevés, from local artists, a lot of curricular connections, regular meetings, a few images. Here's Moise Toire during his February visit, meeting with students and planning. Here's the chorus actually at work. They began work right at the beginning of the school year during 2 weeks of collaboration with Francis Viette, a longtime Pina Bausch dancer and now a longtime collaborator with Moise Toire. A lot of writing and reflection is part of the process, and originating new ideas and new propositions through drawing from the inspirations of the group. And then most recently, during this October break, Jessica Henu, also a choreographer and a longtime collaborator of Moise. They've been working together for about 25 years, here working with the Ancient Tragedy group. And again, a lot of the work with her has been on physical expression and training, building strength and flexibility, but also using student-generated impulses and ideas around ritual and community, even as they've been working on the Ajax and the Antigone piece. Visiting artists who've been working with us include Fool's Fury. Here's Devorah Eliezer of Fool's Fury, meeting with students and leading them in reflection. Amy Muntz, an alumni artist in residence, here leading a weekend workshop, doing a lot of work with the fragment groups, but also bringing her own explorations of multimedia. Parent involvement. We have parents who are really doing hands-on work with us as chorus members and bloggers. We're certainly seeking parent help for the March events, and we'd like to welcome parents to really be involved in any number of ways, whether that's wanting to bring their own talents or interests to the project, or simply wanting to sit in on more of the rehearsals, coming to some of the more open forums, workshops, and so on. We had some in October, and we'll have more. So it's a real invitation for parents also to kind of tread new ground and be involved in new ways, or perhaps more deeply within the arts department. So just a couple of key upcoming events, and the invitation to follow us on Facebook or on the student-managed website, awaitingdawn.com. And of course, please feel free to email me at any time, Michelle H. at FrenchAmericanSF.org, Carmela Levine, and then Patricia Thayer, who's a parent coordinator for the Awaiting Dawn project, and some of my colleagues within the arts department, who also can be contacted within their areas of specialization. So thank you so much, and we're looking forward to having you as audience members and perhaps involved in some other ways during the year ahead.